This might be one of the last videos you see like this on YouTube. My submission's finally back from PSA at $14.99 a card for non-sports. If you watch some of my previous videos, you hear me keep referencing that it hasn't moved. Well, finally, it gained some progress and hit my PO box here in May. So let's go through the cards, see how the grades went. Again, you can look at the preview if you wish. If you want to just go to the reveal, I'll have chapters built in. You can just jump right to it. But first, we'll go into the preview. I'll show you what I sent them, what I'm expecting to get for grades, that sort of thing. Then there'll be the grading reveal, and then a little breakdown at the end of the video in regards to like how I felt the grades went, what the financial breakdown was, and just my final thoughts in general. So with that out of the way, let's get to what I sent to PSA.
Hey, how's it going, YouTube? It's Ian with Good Form Sports Cards. Today I'm going to go through some cards I'm sending to PSA on a TCG submission. And I was able to put this together real quickly. I was in the process, like I was probably 90% done at going through the cards I wanted to, and I was just kind of slow rolling, getting the holders and the little sleeves that I put over everything here, the team bags, putting the submission together, just all that last stuff to get to the finish line. I was kind of being slow with it, and then I saw PSA announce their price change on January 17th, which is when I'm recording this video here, and I wanted to make sure I got that submission in quick before I paid an extra $2 per card. So I'm going to go through what I'm sending in right here. As I'm going through, I'm going to go based on memory what some of my pre-grades were. So a little tip before I get started to people that maybe haven't graded cards, maybe you've graded a little bit. If you're successful, then I would say don't change anything. But if you send in some cards, you know, from your personal collection, you're just getting started, and maybe you got some 7s and realize that they're not even worth the price of grading, and it's been frustrating. My advice would be to do a few things. First, look at the grader's website to understand their criteria. The general 4 areas that they look at are going to be corners, edges, surface, and centering. And you're going to want to independently look at those and make sure your card is very, very strong in all of those, not just your personal opinion, but based on their standards. From there, the tip that I'm leading into would be to make sure that you're pre-grading your cards. And that's something where it's added a little bit of layer of accountability to me. There's a lot of stuff that early on I was kind of like, it's close, and just send it. Let's see what happens. And it's like, if I'm sitting either in my office or I'm sitting here at my home and I'm finding stuff with the naked eye or with small little tools, trust me, somebody that does this for a job and has way superior equipment and a setup and lighting and all that kind of stuff, they're going to see what you see. So understand that if you're sending a 9 and like wishing for a 10, like, yeah, there's the story. Someone could hop in here and be like, no, I had a white corner and I got a 10, and I absolutely have seen those cards. I've seen the other side of it where I've sent in a card that I believe is a strong 9, possible 10, it's come back a 6. I've sent it back in and it's got its 9. So I've seen these sort of things. There are the anomalies. We're dealing with human error, but if you want to play the numbers game and play the expected return sort of analysis of your cards, make sure that you're pre-grading and that you're holding yourself accountable to getting good grades. If you have poor centering, edge chipping, surface dimples, little things like that, and you're like, well, the edges are good except for this little bit here, and the corners are good except for this little bit here. If you have a bunch of issues that are piling onto each other, small or large, when you get to the finished product and you add up the score, you're just not going to gem. Probably not even 9 if you have multiple issues. So just keep that in mind. And I'll go through a little bit of my process here. And even though I'm recording this in January, you're probably not seeing this video probably till March or April. That's when I'm going to get the cards back. I'm going to post the reveal shortly after I post this video. I guess we'll be going back to the future or whatever you want to call it then. But anyway, that was a couple minute intro. Let's actually get to the meat here and go through some of the cards and then kind of where I got them and what my process is. So here we have some Garbage Pail Kids, and all of these Garbage Pail Kids that I'm going to be going through are from a collection I'm selling on consignment. It's for a person that knows a friend of mine, so it's like a third party I'm selling for, but they had a lot of these 1985, the inaugural year, Garbage Pail Kids in really good condition. So I'm sending the ones that I think have a real good shot at getting a gem or at least a 9. So these are sticker cards, so we're making sure there's no peeling on the outside edges or where the actual cutout is, and then making sure the cutout is centered, making sure the card is centered, and making sure that the cut didn't go through to the back. There's a lot to consider on these when grading them. And I went through a box of probably 800 to 900 cards, came out with about these 20 that I think would really grade well based on what's out there selling currently. So the 1985s sell really well in 9s and 10s. The 1986s and 1987s, not so much. You're better off just selling them off raw for $2-3 a card and getting your money in volume that way. Paying in this example $14.99 a card to get a card that PSA 9 might sell for $19.99 is just not practical. It's just, obviously, if you're not getting close to double what you're putting in, it's really not even really worth the time or even the risk, because if that 9 that you're hoping to get $19.99 comes back in a 7 or an 8, you're cooked. I mean, you're just immediately in the red, and maybe you could break even if you throw all those 7s in a lot together and, you know, spread your shipping costs out. I don't know. We're not even going to get into that, but so we've got these 1985 garbage pale kids, and you can see they're very centered. They're super clean. I looked at a lot of these, and a lot of the ones that I checked would look really good, and then you would, you know, zoom in here and there would be some paper loss on the colored corners and the chipping and stuff on the back. These were really clean examples. The ones that had the white borders are a little more fortunate. You don't see that kind of stuff. And these cards had a lot of like ink bleeding. Like up here, you'd see a lot of, like, when you zoomed in, you don't necessarily see it with the naked eye, but when you get in under magnification, you would see a lot of ink bleeding on the white. So you got to watch that if you're looking to get into grading or flipping or doing whatever with the garbage pail kids. Personally, I've never submitted them, so I might think I know, and then I don't know what I don't know. So I'm using my experience here to try to steer the ship. But hey, that could be something else. So next we're getting into some of these 2015 Marvel retro cards. Now, when I first looked through this collection, these were just like sitting raw in a box, and I'm like, oh, this is junk. Because a lot of those Marvel cards, like, I don't really know what's good and what's bad until I just look at comparables. But these Marvel retros seem to all sell really well. Every single one that he had raw was selling for the $20 to $40 range in good shape. So I'm basically just sending in any card that had a $20 comp in hopes of getting a good grade and really ramping it up. I mean, these cards in 9s and 10, the 10s were really, really strong, obviously. But even the ones in like 7s and 8s, I think people were just happy to have them slabbed, and they were paying like $29.99. So being as there's no initial cost for myself or the consignee, it's basically like, can I add value to this card right now with no cost involved? That makes it a little easier for both sides. So that's the approach here. If you're wondering, like, well, why would you send this card in and hope for a 7 or an 8? If you paid $20 and paid the grading fee, you're not going to get your money back. In theory, you're correct. But since I don't actually have $20, it has a $20 value, but I don't actually have any money into this, and neither is the consignee. It gives us the opportunity to send in cards, and like, if I can take a $3 card, grade it, and then when everything's said and done, it turns into a $6 card, I'm actually adding value. So that's really the thought process with a lot of these consignment cards. And also, if any of you or you know a third party that's looking to do the same sort of deal, just get us in touch. My contact information, socials is on the page here and linked in the video. And if they want to do the same sort of thing, and you know, I'll put the time in putzing with these mid-range cards that a lot of people don't want to. It's not a fast process, but anyway, we'll just get back to it. So the She-Hulk I had pre-graded at a 7. It looks really centered. It's a play on the 1982 Fleer baseball set. That's what the retro part of it is. But with these white borders, and it is a cardboard back. So when you really zoom in, or I should say look under magnification, the chipping shows really bad because you'll have the white edges, but then the brown cardboard really shows through, and there's some chipping on most of the corners. And so the corners are sharp, but there's a little paper loss in regards to the white. So I don't expect this to grade well. Maybe an 8, but 7 probably. So this card here is a lot like those old Sport Flicks cards from the 80s, and it's on like an acetate back. So when you hold it up to the light, it's pretty strong, but right along the bottom there's some chipping, and I expect this to probably get an 8. Same here. This is an 8/9. This is an Ant-Man. I think it's a play on an old Skybox card, I believe. So we had 2 of these 95 flares. This is Ghost Rider, and the back on these are like foil, and that's why this one I believe we are going to grade probably 8s, maybe a 9 on one of them, because the corners and everything on the front are great, but the foil on the back is where you see the paper loss and the whitening. So depending on how much they're going to ding you on the back on these, but even in an 8, that card's going to be profitable. So we got Doc Ock, Jean Grey, Mr. Sinister, Daredevil. All these cards here I'm going through I had pre-graded at 9s. Okay, So now this last pile here, we're going to have a run of the cards that I believe should gem. That's why I'm sending them to PSA. If I was really worried about, sending a stretch 9, I probably would send it to SGC because they're $12 a card, and then there's also the chance at the 9.5 where I have that middle ground of probably being more profitable. So these cards that I'm about to go through, I fully expect to gem 10. If I get into those random 7s or 8s, I'm probably going to explode off camera because that really pisses me off, especially when you're in lower end cards and can't really afford to crack and resubmit. Like it's just super frustrating. Like you put a lot of time into this prep work, the pre-grading, and a lot of thought. Like I'm off making spreadsheets, pre-grading, going through all this stuff. I mean, it's not like I'm throwing these cards in top loaders and wishing. So when you get some stupid 7 and you send it right back and get a 9 or 10, to me it's just inexcusable. But anyway, that's my last rant. So here's some Star Wars cards, and these are super low end. I mean, you could probably buy these for $1 or $2 each, but I fully expect them to gem. They're super strong, kind of same as that She-Hulk I talked about, where they're on a paper back, so the chipping is very prevalent. I went through like a huge box, probably like it was about a box and a half, so it was like probably 1,000 to 1,200 cards, and pulled out the ones that I thought were worth grading, then went through that stack, and this is basically what was left of what I thought would gem. So like this is kind of aligned what I was saying. Like you put the time in to go through a lot of cards to find maybe 10 that are gradable or that you think will gem, but a Luke and a Darth card in a PSA 10 is always going to sell. That's my thought process there. Got Princess Leia and Darth, some good pairings there. We've got a Captain Phasma here. This is a limited insert, same sort of thing. It paperback on all these, so they're just, the chipping on the front is really what gets you. That's what you really have to check, is the corners. They just tend to always have one where there's just a little bit of something going on. So these are the silver parallels from the base set. The base set, I believe, was blue. There's like a play on the 1977 set, I think. So it looks just like them, same design, just updated for, I think it was 2017 this set was. And then here's purple parallels. So expecting gem 10s on those. So we're going to go through the Marvel cards here that I believe should gem. So here's the rest of those Marvel retros. The Captain Marvel, the Flair Cyclops, I believe. Yeah. The Flair Thanos, Flair Groot, Flair Magneto, Flair Mystique, Flair Gambit, and Flair Star-Lord. Now these Flair cards really are kind of like the old Flair cards from the 90s. They're almost like, obviously they're a retro play on that, but when you look under magnification on both sides, it's just the quality of those was a lot better. It's a slightly thicker stock, but not like a thick card where I'm worried about getting beat down on the grades at PSA. But so I expect a high gem rate on those, and it could be something where if they do grade well, I might actually look into those Marvel sets and see if I can't get into any of those lots or anything at a good price. Just knowing that those Flairs should grade well, you can kind of play the expected return game where 80% of my cards will gem, so I can pay a little bit more, that sort of thing. So we got a Star Wars autograph card here. This was, I believe, is the Wooleman. I believe it was like atomic refractor or some sort of refractor. It's numbered to 99, so I believe this should gem. The auto's clean. It's not going to get an auto grade, so it's basically, it is sticker auto. It is what it is, but it is authenticated on the back. So got a Princess Leia insert here, again with the paper back. This one was serial number 250. And then we've got a few canvas Elvis cards. I went through a really big stack of these. They're pretty low end. It's Press Pass brand, and then there's like the standard, and then there's the canvas versions. These are all the canvas versions, and then same thing. They're just all dark all the way around, and it's a kind of a cheaper stock, even though they are canvas. So you really got to watch the corners and the edges for chipping. These ones were the only ones out of everyone I looked for that I expected to gem in regards to having good centering, good corners, edges, all that stuff. I would be shocked if those were anything less than 9s. I mean, I'm expecting 10s, but I know how it goes. I mean, I don't see everything. So this last chunk here is actually, I would say, PC for me. So There's no pre-grades on these. This little story behind these was, growing up, I was always into card collecting almost as long as I can remember back. Is basically when I started first playing with the other kids in the neighborhood. You know, I was probably 6 years old. You know, they had their 87, 88 Topps cards. I really liked Oakland. They were good at the time, obviously, so they're the ones that you'd see playing playoff baseball. I remember the Walt Weiss Cup card was, you know, probably worth $3-4, but I had to have it, and probably just held on to that thing every single day until it was basically worth less than it is now. Of course, McGuire and Canseco, you like them, you know, Eckersley, Dave Stewart, Bob Welch. I like that whole team, and that really kind of started me on card collecting. And you'd always hear the stories from my relatives and my parents about, oh yeah, you know, we were putting all these cards on our bike spokes. We didn't know they were worth anything. You know, I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, you know, I'm staring at these, you know, Manels and Gretzky rookies and all this stuff in my Beckett going, oh my God, do you think you put this in your tires? And they're probably like, yeah, probably. And I'm just like, oh my God, you know, just bumming out. I'd hear these stories about these cards, but nobody in my family really seemed to have any. You know, you heard old tales, well, there might be a box in Grandpa's basement, but it just never turned up. I just never heard of it, never came across it. Whatever cards my family had were gone. However, when I first moved out and was on my way to college, and around that time, I remember sitting in my living room and my mom brought me an actual wax pack. Like, it was basically like they had opened the pack, looked at the cards, put them back in there and just folded it up and kept it away. It was in this old trunk that had other family items. I probably went through this pulling, you know, blankets and other things out my whole life, but just never noticed what this thing was. But inside that pack were these cards. And these are some Beatles in color cards from the 60s. And they're not really worth a lot. I've looked, just seeing what they are. You can get $4 or $5 a piece. You know, high grade ones obviously get more. If you throw a slab on it, get a 9, it's worth substantially more. But I wanted to get them slabbed up just because it's really the only cards I have in my collection, like from my family, from my parents. So that it's really just to preserve them. They're just going to go away. I'm not looking to sell. I'm not looking to build the set. I just want the original cards that were given to me. And of all the stuff that I bought and sold, these have always survived. For whatever reason, I never needed the the $50 that bad to sell them. So that's the story behind them. We can go through them real quick. They're pretty high grade. I'm expecting a lot of 7s and 8s. I mean, some of these are centered up pretty good, maybe a 9, but you can see they're super clean. There's some where the centering is just not good, and I mean, they're paperbacks, so you know, those of you on here that are vintage people know that the sharp card doesn't necessarily always mean everything. It's there's a lot to it, but there's a handful of them here, and it's really what I'm looking to get. So I'm excited to get this returned back and see how some of them do. Next time I visit my mom, I'll bring them with, and she's always curious to see that I still have that stuff even, but there is a little story behind it. It is meaningful. You just never know at the time the things that are going to mean something like this. Anyway, that's the TCG submission. We're sending this off to PSA. It is January 17th. I'm expecting to probably get them back the end of March, maybe early April. Obviously, they're backed up and they're up in their prices, so how quick they right the ship remains to be seen. But appreciate you sticking around and listening to the banter and some of the stories and the data and the reasoning for sending stuff in and all this good stuff. So stick around for the follow-up video that's going to have the final grades on here.
A few moments later.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Right here is the box from PSA. Still sealed. We're going to open it up here. I have a blind reveal. Just going to quickly go over a little bit of the timeline here. So this was submitted around the price change in January. And I had prepped it literally like the day of the price change. I think it was January 17th. It sent a priority mail. It was officially received by PSA on January 27th. That's when they marked it in their system. Admittedly, I haven't looked up the tracking number to go back in time. It's obviously we're several months into it here. I'm not really too concerned about the 1 or 2 day potential difference, but they checked it into their system on the 27th. The order prep was complete February 18th, and the order was not completed until April 29th. So this box did show up into my P.O. box in early May, recording this May 5th. Now there's gonna be some time for editing and that sort of stuff, so you'll probably see it here mid-month, maybe at the end of May, somewhere in there, but that's the official timeline. And it's been gone quite a while. As we expected, they were backed up and just pushed everything out to about, I think it was 65 days or something like that. So This was on the $14.99 a card special, which is nice. I spent over 60 cards, approximately $1,000 spent on the grading itself. So we'll hop into the cards pretty soon here and see, how well did I actually do. I'm gonna have my pre-grades on the screen to the left of me here, so I'll try not to get too distracted, but I want to basically pull up and verify as we go how many of them I was accurate on and how many I was not. The last PSA reveal that was on the channel, might actually be the only PSA reveal that's on the channel so far, was very, very good. If anything, it was a very loose or a soft grader. I feel like they were very favorable to me. I keep seeing videos of how tight grading's been, so I'm a little, I don't want to say concerned, but it's just, admittedly, I know the PSA bros aren't going to want to hear this, but I just always have that level of concern of like, what am I going to get showing up? Is this a good one or a bad one? And admittedly, that's the only company I get that feeling from, so hopefully they get that confidence restored, or at least consistency restored a little bit. But we'll see how this goes. I don't want to slam on anybody too hard until I actually see what the results are. If it's what I feel is soft or favorable again, then who knows, I might just edit this part out. But that's the timeline of things. And just to put that into perspective, since this was prepped and sent to PSA, we've already experienced the Super Bowl, the French Open, Champions League final, the NCAA tournament, men and women, the NFL draft, free agency, the opening of baseball. We're into the NBA and NHL playoffs now. It's been quite a lot going on in the world. It's unfortunate submissions are taking that long. It does make it hard for people that do what I do, either full-time or part-time, to operate as they know or have been. And we're just having to find alternate ways to continue to move inventory and stuff while it's bottlenecked at PSA and obviously other grading companies as well. And it presents an obvious problem of when you have a lot of cards there, you have a lot of money tied up in your inventory that's sitting stationary, but you also have money that is, if it's a company like CGC or SGC where you pay early on in the process, your money is tied up even longer. PSA, the nice part about them is you do pay at the end. That is a benefit there where you don't have a bunch of money tied up in your raw inventory and grading and then it sits and sits and sits, but you do have to be mindful that you can't just keep sending cards and be lazy or complacent with the bill that's going to be coming, because it's going to hit and then they're going to hit potentially back to back to back to back. You just don't know, like, as they start to clean things up, how quicker your submission's going to go through the system at some point. So if anybody is doing that and not thinking about that, you probably should be, and make sure that you're prepared. I'm not really sure what they do with your cards if and when you can't pay. I don't know I hope I never know, but I'm sure it's happened before. I don't know if they confiscate them, if they can only hold them for so long, I don't know what they do. So hopefully we don't see people getting into that situation. Rambled on enough here. I'm gonna open up the box here and get the slabs kind of ready to go through, and then we'll just rip through them, blind reveal. We'll see how everything goes. Okay, and we are back. The cards are unboxed. Looks like we had something that was not slabbed. We'll find out why. So it was one of the old Beatles cards. Looks like it was miscut. Not sure what or why, just too much miscut for them to grade, apparently. That was not a card that was going to be for sale anyway. Change the angle a little bit here so I can show you the cards a little better. All right, so we'll get the slabs over here and we'll get into the reveal. So as the preview indicated, if anyone just skipped right to the grades, there was a run of these Beatle cards in there for my parents. They just found them when they were moving one day and gave them to me. So I just want to preserve these and just keep them. This was, oh, cool. So this one actually ended up being an OPG here, if you can see that. It was graded a 6. I thought these were all tops, but this one was evidently an OPG. I don't know if that's more rare or not, but that one got a 6. That's deservingly so. I would assume all those cards are probably going to be in the 5 to 6 range. Here we have a Gambit. This is one of the Marvel Retro cards. I had Gambit, let's see here, pre-graded at a 9 or a 10. I said it had a slight paper loss on a back corner. So let's see how Gambit did. And Gambit did get a 9. So On a flare card, that's a W for me. I'll take that. Here is Star-Lord. This is, I believe, another flare card. And a lot of the flares were super clean. I'll see if I can finally pull a 10, but we got a 9 on Star-Lord. Kind of how PSAs go, even if I pre-grade them a 10. 9, it's, of course, disappointing, but they don't have the 9.5 in their scale. So if they find, like, anything, it's fine that it goes to a 9. What bums me out is when I have it pre-graded really well and it goes to like an 8. That's harmful. But if I get a lot of 9s, I'm cool with that. So here's one of the Star Wars cards with the Silver Star Field parallel. I sent the clean ones in. I'm only expecting 10s on these. It's the only reason I would send those. So we got a 10 on the first one. Here's a Captain Marvel. This is another retro Marvel card. Gem Mint 10 on that one. And Captain Marvel was pre-graded at a 10. So that one went as planned. I believe this was the Ghost Rider card. And one of them was worse than the other. One had some pretty substantial foil loss. I had one Ghost Rider ranked an 8 and one as a 9. And the first one got a 7. So this is probably the one that had a little more foil loss on the back. I'm not too worried about being off by like 1 grade on that one. This is the second Ghost Rider, so I would assume if I was 1 off on that one, I'm probably 1 off here. This one's probably an 8. Yeah, so it seems like I've got a pretty consistent grader, maybe a little tight, but it's not like they're just completely lost with some of these older cards, which I'm fine with that. It wouldn't matter if I wasn't anyway, I guess. But next up here is a Jean Grey. This is retro Marvel card. And that one got a 9 in the flares. So far not hammering me too bad on the flares. They were super clean. I had some of them marked at a 10, but I tend to do that on the flares and it doesn't happen. So here's a retro Marvel Mr. Sinister. I had this one pre-graded at a 9. And that one did get a mint 9, so it's pretty good. So this should be one of the Star Wars, I believe, probably Family Legacy cards. We'll know when I flip it over, but I had all those pre-graded at 10s. They were really clean. The ones that weren't what I felt were like slam dunk 10s where I sent in a previous SGC order. So if you didn't check that out, you should. That is somewhere on my playlist for the channel's grading reveals. Just go find that there. But we'll see how we did here. And we got a mint 9. So it's a little disappointing. It's not a really high value card for sure, but same with these Elvis canvases. These I had, I think about 6 I sent for grading. The ones that had slight issues I sent to SGC when their cards were $12 for non-sports. And then I sent the ones that I thought would gem for sure to PSA. So I'm expecting a 10 on this Elvis. And Elvis got a mint 9. So. Definitely a tight grader for sure, but I'm not getting crushed, so that's good. Here we have a Heroes of the Resistance insert, and this is numbered to 50 down here. You can see serial numbered. So this one I had pre-graded at 10. It was pretty clean. And Leia got a 9. So this is the Shimmer Refractor numbered to 50. It's a good looking card. Unfortunately, did not get the 10. So here we have the Mystique retro Marvel card. And Mystique, I had pre-graded at a 10. So let's see how she did. Oh, wow, I finally got a 10 on a flare. Let's put the confetti in here. I'll find a way to put some effects in there, do something to celebrate. It's been a long time coming to gem in a flare card, and this is pretty nice. So Mystique got a 10. I know that my ego is boosted a little bit from that. Here's another Star Wars. This should be another probably Silver Starfield or maybe the Purple Starfield parallels. The ones that I thought, again, that were gem in 10s, I just sent them to them. So I'm expecting all 10s on these for sure. We got a mint 9, so all the build up for me to go, there's another 9. So you can see the 9 stacks building up with 3 10s so far, so that's not too bad. And Ghost Rider, we weren't expecting a gem at all, so he's fine over here. So here's our first garbage pail card. I can't really tell by the back who it is, but those I had pre-graded anywhere from an 8 to 9s. I don't think anyone in my mind was a slam dunk 10. I had some that were like 9 to 10, kind of depending on how they grade, but I did find little things. So with it being a tight grader, I'm almost sure I'm probably not going to get a 10 on any of these, and PSA is historically tough on stickers. So all the excuses for me to be really bad here out of the way. Let's see what we did. So 7, God, to me that's a little harsh. So either way, this card in a 7 will definitely be profitable. It's worth more than $15 for sure. So Garbage Pail Kid number 2. Get into this one. They're number 7. Rinse and repeat. Same sort of thing. My strategy didn't change from card to card. We'll just see if the grading went good. Let's see. That was Oliver. So Oliver I had at a strong 8, and he got a 7. Zach Plaque, the one we just looked at, I also, same thing. I put 8+. So we're definitely off by a letter grade there. Here's the next one here. This one got an excellent 6. This is Split Kit. Split Kit I had also at an 8+. So that one is definitely an underachiever. I must have missed something there. Here's the next Garbage Pail Kid. Another 6 for Sumo Sid. Sumo Sid I had like a straight 8. So that would have been like one of the weaker Garbage Pail Kids that I sent. So if the other ones got 6s, I guess I kind of understand why that did. But hopefully we knocked out a few 8s. 7s and 6s is not what I was planning on here. All right. So here's another 7. This is for Off the Wall Paul. Paul I also had graded as like a weak 8. So that's actually probably not a horrible grade for him. Here's the next one. That is Rachel Roden. I also had graded as a weak 8. So not bad. I'm sorry for some of the hard cuts here. I'm having to edit out some dead space, some speaking into the future, but just as I kind of look to my left and find the cards on the list, make sure my pre-grades are matching, and that's how you know it's a true blind reveal. I don't have the list already laid out with the comparison and whatnot. So anyway, we got Ant-Man here. Ant-Man with the near mint 8, and I had him actually as an 8+, possibly a 9, so that's about right. I'm okay if the grader and I actually kind of agree on some of them. That's a W for me, I guess. This is not the worst submission I've ever seen. I've had ones where I've been off like by 2 grades every time, and this one's not too bad. This is a tough one. So here we've got another Garbage Pail Kid. Another excellent 6 for Rap and Ron. Okay, so Rap and Ron, I really sucked. I had Rap and Ron as a 9 to 10. I put that the sticker is off center left to right, and the top right corner isn't sharp. So it must have been just like a little fuzzy here, and then the sticker cut itself, let's see if we can kind of get this in the light here. You can see it's like tougher along the edge, so they must have absolutely just hammered me on the sticker cut centering, I guess. Otherwise, back centering is not perfect either. I don't know, I guess there's enough going on there. I don't know if it's a 6, but I've seen some much more horrendous cards for Garbage Pail Kids. All right, so here we've got the Star Force, the Force Awakens Woollavan. I believe this is the auto. This was pre-graded at a 10. This is the Topps Chrome. I think it's an on-card auto. And, no, it is a sticker auto, and I got a 9. So unfortunately, that was a very clean card. I don't know if I got hit maybe with the sticker placement, because the sticker placement's absolutely horrible. It's at like a 20-degree angle here. It's just really bad. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but whatever. All right, so here is another retro Marvel card. This one was the 3D, and I had this one pre-graded at a 7 to an 8. There was a little bit of chipping along, like if you hold it up to the light, you can see through it. It's almost like an acetate card. So this one, I'm not expecting a good grade on at all. And an 8's actually not bad. So this is the Green Goblin. You can see how it's got it's almost like the old Sport Flicks cards. So I'm pretty pleased with that. That one is probably a somewhat generous grade given the card. Here's another Elvis. Looking for a 10 on that. And we got a 10 on Elvis. Finally got another gem. All right, here's another Beatles in color card. This is the third one technically. We had one that didn't get holdered, one that was actually a surprise OPG. I don't know if they all are. This one is not. See, this is the Beatles color set. So that one was just like a random OPG that was in the bunch of the rest, but nice looking Paul McCartney here, PSA 7. That's pretty nice for an old card like that. 7s, I didn't think I'd have many of those. All right, another Elvis looking for a 10. Still looking. Another 9 for Elvis. Beatles in color card here, 6. Probably going to be about what most of them are. Didn't have any super sharp ones. I doubt there's anything above a 7 in any of this. So another Beatles card, another 6. Another Beatles card, another 6. I'm excited to show these to my mom. All right, another Beatles card in a 6. And another Beatles in a 6. So pretty consistent grades, no like 3s in there or anything. Here's one more Garbage Pail Kid. And oh, we finally got an 8. So Disgusting and Justin I had just pre-graded a 9, not an 8. I think his centering was just a little bit off, and that could be what kept it off here. So far it's the strongest Garbage Pail Kids card, and an 8. We'll take it. Off to the last stack here, and this long-awaited PSA return will be gone just like that. It's another Starfield parallel. We're looking for a 10. Oh, I'm sorry. It is not a Starfield parallel. This is another Family Legacy, and I was still looking for a 10, but we got a 9. This is Luke and Darth. That card and a 10 would have been really cool. 9 is okay, though. I'm sure somebody will still want that. Here we've got another Gambit. This was pre-graded at a 9 to a 10. And Gambit got a 10. That's cool. That's a cool looking card. All right. Here's another Star Wars card. And this is another Family Legacy. And this one did get the 10. So the Luke and the Darth got the 10 here. Super cool. Maybe the stack will be a little more favorable to us. Our 10s aren't terrible, but well, of course we always want more. All right, another Garbage Pail Kid. This one got a 9, mint 9 here for Messy Tessie. Messy Tessie, I had pre-graded at a 9 to a 10. I had the card that's pretty much perfect as my notes, but I still didn't trust that it would gem. But a 9 is pretty strong. Here is a She-Hulk. I had this pre-graded at a 7 or 8. There's a white border. When we flip it over, you'll see it had some chipping on it, kind of like the old Topps Heritage. Oh, wow, and this got a mint 9, and you can see the centering is not perfect. It's probably within tolerance, but like top to bottom is not good, and left to right's a little off. They were unreasonably soft on that card for how hard they have been on everything else, but we'll take it. Garbage Pail Kid card here. This one is near mint 8, so they're starting to get a little better. Double Heather I had at a 9 to 10. Again, I put card as pretty much perfect, could gem was my notes, so evidently there's something with the Garbage Pail Kids and the way PSA grades them that I don't understand. I did pretty good with SGC's grading actually, so must just be a little difference, I guess. Whatever. So here we've got another Garbage Pail Kids. And this is Dizzy Dave, got the 8. The card is pretty much perfect. Very slight paper loss on one corner under magnification. In parentheses off to the side, I'm predicting a 9, but I've seen worse cards gem. so that's the deal. So I'm out, I guess, expected a 9 on that one, but it was a strong 9 in my mind, and I got an 8. So here's another Garbage Pail Kids. This got a excellent 6. We're back into that again. So Sewer Sue I had graded at a strong 8. I had 55-45 centering top to bottom. The sticker is cut centered, but there's slight chipping on the back. So that must have been what hammered me. And by chipping, I would have meant like along the edges. There's just, under magnification, you could see it. Apparently, they must just, anything with that, they must just nuke you on those cards. So this should be a Retro Marvel Flare card. This is Cyclops. Cyclops I had graded at a 9 to a 10. Cyclops got an 8. So an 8 stack. Here's another Retro Marvel card. This is Thanos. Thanos on the Flare with a 9. We had him at a 9 to a 10 on the pre-grade, so he actually hit. All right, this one I actually wanted a 10 in just because I like Magneto, but I had this one pre-graded a 9 to 10, and it is a Flare card, so He is another mint 9. Got another Star Wars card. This is going to be one of the Starfield parallels this time, I promise. This is the purple Starfield and an ouch and a 9. Ooh, I never would have sent this card if I mean, the cool thing is it is the Death Star, so maybe they'll, at least it's like a cool parallel, but so here we've got a Retro Marvel. This is going to be the Groot card. Groot got a near mint 8. Groot, oddly enough, I had pre-graded a 10. My only notes were I expect this to gem, so something happened with Groot. All right, here's another Starfield parallel. Finally got another 10 on that. That looks pretty cool. All right. Here is another Star Wars insert. This is Captain Phasma. This one was pre-graded at a 10. You can see it is another paper card, so these have been tough grades, but Captain Phasma, this is character art, and we did get the 10 on that, so that is nice. Another Beatles card hidden in here, and another 6. Here is Dr. Octopus. So Doc Ock we had pre-graded at a 9, just a firm 9. And that is what he got. Another Beatles color card here. This one got the X5, so it's the lowest graded card in this mission so far. Another Beatles in color. 6. More garbage pail. Let's see. Okay, near mint 8, we'll take that. This was Cyclops. I just had pre-graded as a solid 9, 55, 4-5 centering, top to bottom. Sticker is centered. There is a slight blue ink bleed on the top right corner. So I don't know if we'll be able to see that or not, but there is some bluing up in here, I guess, under magnification, and I can't see with the naked eye. Maybe we'll catch it with the camera, maybe not, but 8's probably deservedly so if I can find centering issues and whatnot. But Beatles in color card. Ooh, very good 3. Okay, well, yeah, this one's got a pretty good ding on the corner. And here's another Starfield parallel, I think. No, I think this is another Family Legacy. Sorry, it's a 10 of 25. And no, I was correct. It is the Starfield, another purple Starfield at a 9. I wanted 10s on those. Those are definitely not cards you want to send in, at least around the $14.99 a card. We got another 8 here on the Garbage Pail Kids. This is Acne Amy. Pre-graded at a 9 to 10. I put card is pretty much perfect. Predict a 9, but have seen worse 10. So similar as that other one that I had that got an 8. So Amy with an 8, but not terrible. There's another Starfield parallel. This one, again, we're looking for a 10. And we did get the 10, so that is nice. Take that, take every 10. Another Beatles card here. This one is an EX6. All right. And another Beatles card. Very good 4. Here is, oh no, I can already see there's like a, if you see me kind of move this, you can see, it's not a ding, but it's a little line here where the punch from the sticker came through. I can already tell I missed that, so this is probably not going to be a good grade here. And that one gets in the mint 8, so I don't know. I think Lauren was pre-graded at a 9 to a 10. We'll actually take the 8 on that one, given what I could see. Last card here is Daredevil. Daredevil I had graded at a 9, pre-graded at a 9 to a 10. Had there was slight paper loss on one of the back corners under magnification. Good enough to 10, but it got a 9. Which isn't terrible. Again, I could find an imperfection. It's one where you just gotta send it in and try. Okay, so I've removed the Beetle cards from the submission. Those were nothing that I had pre-graded, was expecting any kind of return on or any sales or anything. So there's really no accuracy measurement there, but what I'm gonna do is put some stuff up on the screen here while I talk that's gonna break everything down as far as like the cards I submitted, what their pre-grades were, and then how accurate I was. We had 4 6s, they're all Garbage Pail Kids. And these were obviously cards I expect anywhere from 8s, 9s, possibly 10s. So those were underachievers for sure. The 7s, those were almost all Garbage Pail Kids as well, except for the one Ghost Rider, which was one I admittedly had foil loss. I had it as like a week 8. So really, I had all 8s or better aside from Ghost Rider on the stuff that was like non-Garbage Pail Kids. So that's actually pretty good. So all the 8s here, good amount of Garbage Pail Kids in the 8 stack, which is good. And not a crazy amount of Marvel stuff. Just 5 of the Marvel stuff hit the PSA 8s. The rest of the PSA 8s were all Garbage Pail Kids, which is right about where they should be. I was expecting a little more 9s out of them, but he can't win them all. So the 9s were about as expected. There wasn't too many that, you know, I was unhappy with. We're going to rip through here. These I'm a little shocked with because I felt like I did pretty good on those, and then I'd sent the cards that I thought would 9.5 to SGC, and then they did 9.5, which tells me, if I believe these were better and I looked at them all at the same time, it's just really odd that those would grade worse than 9.5, even though they were better to me. And I can understand doing it once, but the fact I did it like 3 or 4 times is a little sketch. But so again, here's another Starfield that I'm not gonna complain too much on it. It just is what it is. Flare cards, we know about me and the flare cards. I love to think I can grade them and just love to not do it. Here's our lone 9. Got the other Star Wars cards. They really underachieved on the Star Wars paper tops. I thought that would be, that's really probably my disappointment here, if anything. And some of the Elvis stuff too. I kind of get it, but I'm not gonna burn a ton of time going through every single card because we just went through every single card. And if you've watched the whole video, we've gone through them all twice because they're in the preview. But we did get some 10s here. I wouldn't be too focused on the gem rate on this one because I wasn't even expecting to gem half the order anyways. And I feel like overall the 9s and 10s were pretty dominant here. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk. That is the submission. My final thoughts are that this submission was fair. I don't think, I'm not gonna hop on that train of all these new standards and it's so difficult. I mean, these stuff were still pretty in line with what I found. It was just, this particular grader saw the same things I saw, I believe, and was just not going to push them. And that's okay. You're gonna have that from time to time. That's why I typically like to break my cards into 20 to 40 card orders, and I try to spread them out. So if I get somebody that is really tough like this, I don't have 200 cards and $3,000 tied up in this submission. I can just kind of weather the storm with smaller order. And so I like to just cast a wide net, do a lot of smaller submissions. And it seems to just kind of average things out better for me. That would be my best advice. The only other advice I'd give on this is obviously these are the first Garbage Pail cards that I've ever submitted. I've actually, even though you've seen some of my channel, those it was because they were the SGC, so I actually submitted them after this and got them back. I was able to post a video. Looking at these now, I probably got better at dealing with those cards over time. These were something I probably wasn't seasoned enough when I sent them. Maybe I thought my abilities could just kind of carry it, and I thought I knew enough about it, but evidently there's like, they're pretty niche cards and they're tough to grade. No question. Yeah, that would be my thoughts there. Would just be really cautious if you're sending those in and make sure they're basically pack fresh. But that's really it. Look in the future as I sell through these. I'll share the results as I will with every mail day and grading reveal on my channel to show how I was able to move the cards and then what the results were. Was I profitable? Was I not? What happened, basically. So when that information is available, I'll share it with you. But that's all I've got for today. So until next time, we'll see ya.